Hi everybody, this is Ron Gallo. You are listening to Recess with Spinelli.
You are tuned in to Recess with Spinelli here on WSPN. Saratoga Springs, New York, Hoxton FM, London, England, the International Radio Festival, and the New York State Music Blog. And today we are here with the rocker Ron Gallo in Troy, New York, and he has his brand new album, Heavy Meta, which is out and available now. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
How would you define, I guess, your version of rock and roll, your version of a rock and roll lifestyle?
I think that the rock and roll lifestyle, I think a lot of people associate it with just like party hard, women getting crazy, man, crazy stories, up all night, destroying hotel rooms, debauchery. But I personally think, I mean, I don't drink or partake in any kind of partying, and I think that rock and roll is about being yourself, whatever that may be at any given moment, regardless of how weird or strange or bizarre it may be. I think that that's what the platform is about. It's about the freedom of expression to just be you, no matter what it is. And if you stay true to that, I think that's, to whatever you are, I think that's the most rock and roll thing.
So do you think rock and roll is unique in that freedom compared to other genres?
Maybe jazz. Jazz, I think, is also a pretty important embrace of freedom and improv and sort of being a powerful form of very raw human expression. But yeah, there's something about rock and roll music as it's traditionally known. There's an electricity to it that I think is kind of ingrained in most people. So when they hear it, it kind of awakens something, and that's what it's done to me, and maybe that happens to other people when they come to the show. Well, rock and roll, I mean, it hasn't really been a major staple or at the forefront of American music for quite some time now. I mean, you know, in the 90s there was sort of the grunge explosion, and in the early 2000s there was sort of like that garage revival. But, you know, classic rock, quote unquote, when rock and roll was at the forefront of American music, there was mythology and a lot of debauchery and like sort of, you know, a lot of creationism around like what rock and roll was back in the day, and what people think about. You know, it's like the Beatles and the Doors and Led Zeppelin and like all those old bands. It's like that's kind of the image that I think that people have when they think of rock and roll, and I think that it's sort of reinvented itself, and you know, through punk rock and DC in the 80s, and it keeps sort of filtering its way through. And now we're in this place where pretty much everything has been done, and we're in 2017. So I think what we do is a strange combination of everything that's happened. I don't know, just trying to stay true, I guess.
So when you first started playing music, how would you say, I guess, your definition of rock or your idea of rock music is and could be? How has that changed since when you first began to now? How have you transformed with the music, if you will? When
I was a kid growing up, my local scene was like hardcore, punk, pop punk kind of. That's kind of what rock music was in South Jersey as a kid growing up in the early 2000s. That's where it began, and then I sort of started to kind of discover like the roots of American music, early rock and roll, like kind of where it all started. And I kind of worked my way backwards, and then I worked my way forwards, and now I, you know, especially with Heavy Meta, I found myself really identifying with sort of like the late 70s New York, you know, Patti Smith, Richard Hell, Iggy Pop, the Stooges. I really identify with sort of the freedom and the freakishness of the music and kind of the expression and the art that was being made during that time. So that was kind of an influential time period during the making of this record.
Well, along with the freedom of expression, as you will, for rock and roll music, what would you say then you do as a band, or specifically on Heavy Meta that you have done, that makes you really proud to call yourselves a rock band?
You know, I think that the record, for me, is really like truly my first exercise in being extremely honest with myself and sort of the world around me. And it kind of starts there, just through kind of the the content and the topics of the songs and the things that I'm addressing. There's this attempt for me to try to like tear through the bullshit of my own and also the world around me. So I think that it starts there, and then sonically it kind of built itself around it to be this sort of, it's rooted in there's punkish elements to it, I guess. I don't know. There's a certain level of aggression to it. I guess I can't even, it's hard to say if I'm even proud to call ourselves a rock band. When we get up there and play, we like to really go for it. And the songs that I'm writing, I'm always going to, I'm not in it for self-indulgence or for vanity. I mean, I want to talk about things that I think need to be talked about in the world today. And I hope that it impacts people on some sort of deeper level, makes people think, makes people feel. And so that's really what I kind of take pride in, we're not singing songs about last night or the good times that we've had or necessarily love in some, romantic, pretty way, or try to do something that at least I think I deem to be important by my own standards.
So would you say rock artists, rock musicians kind of have a duty to express some social truths, not just their own personal truths?
Well, they certainly used to. And I think that it's been quite a long time since people have truly used the platform. I think that art is supposed to reflect the times. And I think honestly, a lot of rock artists, a lot of bands have been majorly slacking in that department for quite some time. And like I said, there's always people that are using their platforms, but it just hasn't been the majority. So I think now's a really good time for that, to get out of the complacency and use it for what it was designed for. I just don't really think that people kind of see the oneness or see that we're kind of all in this thing together. So, you have people on the same side arguing on Facebook, and you have, fake news and just all of this noise and all this constant connection. A lot of it starts there, and then I kind of just get thinking, and I just get I get a little fed up with where things are at, and then, that's such an easy place for me to write from. I could write from a frustrated, finger-pointing point of view any day. And I've been trying to write from a more compassionate, heavy meta is kind of like, what are we doing? This is what's wrong with everything. And a lot of the newer stuff and the new record is about, okay, well, what can we do about it?
What would be your recommendation to folks who come to shows to kind of connect with the music, but also to connect with the people around them?
I think there's especially when we play, there's certain moments in the show, we do things that are kind of jarring or, to kind of make sure that people are alert. And especially tonight at the show, we went into the Om chant. We do it, and I hear all these people basically yelling, talking over it, and then to just say something like, hey, stop talking to your roommate and let's have a unified human moment here all together. It would be very simple. And then people are like, oh shit. And then people join in, and then they kind of see oh, this is actually really cool, because everybody's in their own world. So trying to rattle people out of it is tough.
So would you say people at shows have a hard time living in the present?
People have a hard time being in the present at shows, but I think people have a hard time being in the present in general. So maybe they're even more present at shows. If people can walk away and feel like it's okay to be themselves, or feel like it woke something up in them and they start questioning it, self-inquiry, just giving people a little bit a jolt of life where they can think, oh, maybe there's a little bit more than what I've been conditioned to think. Maybe it's not so bad being me. Maybe what I am is great as it is, and to, because, we're just three weirdos getting up there just doing the thing that we do. I mean, there's no separation between band and audience there, so I hope people can take something from that we're all just humans and doing the thing, and I don't know, and feel empowered by that as opposed to feel small. Believe in yourselves, people. You're limitless, and you have everything you need right inside.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
You have been listening to Recess with Spinelli, WSPN, Saratoga Springs, New York, Hoxton FM, London, England, the International Radio Festival, and the New York State Music Blog. We've been speaking with Ron Gallo. His new album, Heavy Meta, is out and available now.